It's good to be with you all. As you all know, I love being with our counties all across the state of Kentucky. Our local elected officials are the best elected officials in the state, and I can't thank you all enough for all the work that you all do on a daily basis, keeping everything running and doing the work that you all do to serve the constituencies all across the state of Kentucky. I consider all of you all in here to be dear friends of mine in each of the Kentucky counties that we have here in the state. And Judge, I'm coming to kill some hogs here in a couple days. Me and JC, if I didn't hurt him too bad earlier, we're gonna be there. But it's so good to be with you all in one location. You know, I've been with many of you all out in your counties and being with you at various things that we've done. And I can't thank you for the involvement, the advice, and the encouragement that you all have given me over the last 11 months of being in this office as Kentucky's Commissioner of Agriculture. I have the best job in Kentucky. I know many of you all think that you may have a good job, and that may be right, but I've got the absolute best job in the state of Kentucky. I get to see the best of the best all across the state. But when I woke up this morning, I thought I'd want to start a fight, so we'll see how it goes. How many of you think Christmas starts after Halloween? All right, yeah, a lot of you ladies in here, I see that. And how many of you think it starts after Thanksgiving? Well, y'all are wrong. It starts after Halloween at my house, and I'll tell you when I put my Christmas tree up and my lights every year is on Election Day. Because how many of you all get that nervous energy on Election Day? Everybody in here, y'all get it. Don't act like you don't. Some of y'all think you're tough like Marty Barrett, but you ain't. You get that nervous energy too. So I put my Christmas tree up every year. Well, what I found out this year is I went to go put my Christmas tree up and I had to call my wife because I forgot that I threw everything away last year. I didn't have a Christmas tree or lights one. And so I went to go buy the Christmas tree and got it all there at the house. And how many of you are white light people? All right, how many of you are colored light people? All right, so you're wrong too. And so I went and I bought a Christmas tree, and now every Christmas tree that you buy can do both. And then they can twinkle and sparkle, they can go off rhythm, they can give you a seizure, they can do all kinds of things. And so I went and bought this Christmas tree and I took it home, and me and my wife, we're white light people too. So we had it on, I put it up and she wasn't home, and I didn't tell her I went and bought it. And so when she came home, it was colored lights. And so she comes in the house, and then the kids come in behind her, and what'd the kids do? Oh, they were excited. They got to see them colored lights and they were excited, and so she thought she was had. She thought she was gonna have to decorate a colored Christmas tree. And she comes downstairs, I was on the treadmill, and she looks at me, and how many men in here know what that look is? You all got that look too. And so I finally had to go upstairs and show her you can just hit that button and it changes, and we were good. But I went from being a Grinch whenever my kids were first born to now I have 3 Christmas trees in my house because we got the one that she wanted in the living room, and now we have another colored one in another room. And then she went on Instagram with me, and I found out that you can make a Christmas tree out of lights on your wall. And so now we've got one of those down in the basement. So those of you that love Christmas, congratulations. It's time. It's here. It's now. We're all going to have a good time for Christmas, but it's good to be with you all. Again, can't thank you all enough for all the work that you all have done. But we just got done with Halloween, and many of you all know I grow pumpkins on my farm. And some of you all have heard this, but you know, I've figured out that women like their pumpkins like they like their men. The uglier, the better. Y'all like them scratched up, warty, nasty looking pumpkins. So men, there's hope for all of you all in here. But at the Department of Agriculture, we do a lot of different things. We've got a lot of work that we have to do to keep the state running, whether it's gas pump inspections, whether it's grain bin inspections. We do a lot of different things. We've got the Kentucky Proud program. We have the County Fair Grant program that many of your all's counties in here get to apply for, that we get to award out to help you all with. And so we've got a lot of things that we get to work on. But what we've really been focused on for the last 11 months in the state of Kentucky is agriculture is economic development. And many of you all in this room have been able to come to the meetings that we've had. You all know this in your communities, that agriculture is an economic driver for Kentucky and for most of our counties in the state of Kentucky. And so what we've been focused on is how can we have that conversation more in depth with our local economic developers, with our local county elected officials, to show what that true value is of what economic development can be around agriculture. It's no longer that we have to chase the smokestacks in the state for the factories. We can also look in the ground to the gold that we have. What we're looking at is we don't want to stop progress in any way. Communities across the state of Kentucky, we need jobs, we need investment. We think that we can do that also in agriculture. And so we're trying to put a hyper focus on that, working with the Economic Development Cabinet in the state of Kentucky, our local economic developers, and you all in local government to have this conversation in a real meaningful way. And so the three areas that we focus on every single day is around large-scale processing in the state of how do we get that done? Because we've done a really good job of creating the best commodities in the world right here in Kentucky. We've got the best corn, beans, and wheat, the best poultry, pork, and cattle in the entire world. We have it here in Kentucky. We have the best genetics, we have the best processes, and we have the best conservation and the best farmers to go along with it. So what we've been focused on is how do we work towards getting that end user, that processor here in the state. I'll give you a couple of examples of what I mean. Jerry Gillum's been here at the Hopkinsville elevator down in Christian County. That's a $750 million business that's down here, but it only creates 168 jobs. If you had a $750 million business in your community and it wasn't agriculture related and it was manufacturing, you'd probably have 400 or 500 jobs that were associated with that. So a lot of times in agriculture, we may not create the direct job creation at that facility, but that same facility works to get grain from 3,200 farmers in that community and surrounding areas. And so it's expanding the opportunities around that. The best thing about it is whenever they buy a grain of corn or a bushel of corn and they put it on a rail, a barge, or a truck, and they send it out, they add 5 cents in value to that bushel of corn. But if they keep it at that facility and process it into ethanol, they add $1 in value to that same bushel of corn. You're talking 20 times greater value in having that processing, that end user consumption right here in Kentucky, which raises those basis points to help all of you all in this room that farm in your communities that are out there. So we're looking at what do the opportunities look like in the state to help with that processing and further processing around our agriculture communities, whether it be in our grain markets and biofuels or whether it be around large animal processing. Communities in here that have poultry operations, that have poultry processing. We have 5 major companies in the state of Kentucky that do this, and they process 1.3 million chickens on average a week at those facilities. They employ 1,200 to 1,400 jobs in those local communities. They have 400 to 500 farmers that are growing those chickens along with it, plus the grain operators and the truck drivers that are there. 70% of the corn in the state of Kentucky goes towards feeding poultry for these operations. Same thing here in Louisville with JBS. They process 10,500 hogs a day at that facility here in JBS in Louisville. 1,400 jobs at that facility. 40% of the hogs that come into this facility are Kentucky hogs, Kentucky farmers. Agriculture has an amazing impact around economic development. It has an amazing impact in your local communities. These are jobs not only created, but these are farmers and profitability in your local communities that help put banners around your local Little League teams, that help put shirts on the backs of your basketball players, that help really invest in the communities that you're in, to work alongside your volunteer fire departments, to be a part of your community in a meaningful way, and also, yes, serve on your local fiscal courts and maybe as judge executives themselves. And so that's what agriculture can mean for every community in this state, focusing this attention around how do we get that end user. One of the other things that we focus on is around our vegetable aggregation in the state. How do we get more vegetable production? Whenever we look at that, we're talking about a couple of different things. One, infrastructure in your local communities around aggregating, collecting up different types of vegetables, be able to package that for food distribution. Also around what does it need, what do we need from cold storage and freezer storage space in your local communities to help out with this. We've got an amazing ability in the state of Kentucky to be able to transform how we do our food systems here. I'll give you one example of a school district in Marion County. 20,000 people roughly in the county, 3,000 kids in the school district. They feed 800,000 meals a year to those 3,000 kids. That's amazing consumption power in one community in the state of Kentucky. Multiply that for however many people you've got in your community or your school district and the consumption power that we have. Move beyond that into our initiative with the Food is Medicine campaign around our hospital association. Looking at how do we get fresh food inside the cafeterias that's locally grown? How do we work on getting more vending processed foods into the vending areas? And then thirdly, how do we work towards medically tailored boxes to help with the health of our citizens? President Trump's going to have this Make America Healthy again, and we're in a really good spot to be able to help capitalize on that in Kentucky around Food is Medicine and what we've been working on with our Medicaid, SNAP benefits, and our private insurers to help tailor food, to help tailor this in a way that really helps with our health in this state, getting our people healthier again. We're only as good as our vulnerable populations that we have. And so what we're working on is how do we get this to a way that instead of just pushing for sick care, pills, surgeries, how do we work on well care of getting people healthy on the front end, of getting them diabetic boxes, getting them maternity boxes, addiction boxes, stroke boxes, things like that to where that we can help focus the health around meaningful nutrition in the state. And so we're working diligently every single day to help create those opportunities in our local communities. We've got a fund that we're working on at the Department of Agriculture to help with large-scale economic development in conjunction with the Economic Development Cabinet. We got $5 million put in there upon request of getting the guardrails put around it. We've got that ready for session. And so we're going to have a fund available to be able to help focus more on some of these things that come in and out. I also have with me today Brandon Reed. Many of you all know him in here. Some of y'all are mad that I've got him. If you had him as your state representative, I'm sorry, but he's mine now. But he's our Kentucky Office of Ag Policy Executive Director and doing an amazing job. It's an application-driven, board-driven organization to where that you as farmers or you as communities can work on getting the ag development dollars that you all need. Your CAPE programs is also administered through this. And so we have a lot of options available at the department to help with local development, local economic development, and rural development in the state. And we're working to make this something that's special for all of Kentucky to where that we can work together to make a brighter future. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all. Again, this is the best job in Kentucky. You all may think you got a good job, but it ain't being Commissioner of Agriculture. I get to look at every single best thing that we have in this state. And I'd like to close in saying this. We're coming up on Christmas and Thanksgiving. I have 2 adoptive children, my oldest and youngest out of 4. And whenever I think about the things that I care about, what really pushes me and drives me every day, first and foremost is vulnerable children in this state. Agriculture second. If there was a commissioner of adoption and foster care, I'd have probably ran for that. But whenever you look at what we've got in communities across the state of Kentucky of pouring into our youth, our young people, and now in some of the most important times where they're looking at not having maybe what they need for Christmas or having what they need for Thanksgiving, of really trying to take a turn and focus on how can we do better as a state pouring back into our young people. And so I'd encourage after this election cycle, whether your person won or they lost, whether you're looking at the news media, we're all going to get frustrated. But I'd encourage you to turn it off, quit scrolling through, and go and volunteer to local FFA, go volunteer to local 4-H chapter, go get involved with your local KACo that's in your community, do something to work on this next generation. That's where we can make the biggest impact. These kids a lot of times today, and many of you all have said it, I've said it too, you think, well, what's good about this generation right now? There's nothing good about it. They don't do this, they don't do that. Well, the news flash on that is they don't know nothing when they're born. Everybody starts out with A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3. It's us that has a problem. We've got to teach these young kids, we've got to teach this next generation what it means to be proud, patriotic Americans, to put back into their community and make a difference locally. That's what I'm trying to do with the resources that we have at the Department of Agriculture and in my own personal life. And I'd encourage you all to work alongside us to be able to do that too. And I can't thank you all enough as local elected officials in the state of Kentucky, our county officials all across the state that do this work, and you're on the front lines of making Kentucky a better place. Thank you all so much.